Now the folks here in College Park getting revved up. The Maryland Terrapins being introduced to the home crowd here. And time for us to take a peek at the Tachikara starting lineups as well. First for the Terps here at home, Michelle. We talked before about the talented freshmen for these teams, but certainly some upperclassmen that expect to do some good things in this match.
Absolutely, and look for Emily Frake, especially on the outside, to take care of that load, and Kelsey Revenak stepping up on the pins tonight.
And meantime, here's the lineup that CJ Wernicke will put out for the Scarlet Knights. Fletcher has gotten a ton of work, a ton of sets, but other players will be involved too.
And it's important for their middle blockers to get involved to help free her up on the pin, because if they leave her on the block, double blocked against Maryland, it's going to be trouble for Fletcher on the outside.
And there is CJ Wernicke, 7th season as the head coach with the Scarlet Knights. His team looking to get on the board here in Big Ten play. Same for Steve Aird, who we introduced you to at the top of the telecast in his initial year in leading this Maryland program. The Terps in the white uniforms here at home, black tops for Rutgers on the road. And this should be a fun one with two teams that are really poised to try to have a breakout in the Big Ten tonight.
And just the environment in here that Coach Aird has really created a culture at Maryland for people to be excited and to be involved with Maryland volleyball.
He's got the students working, booster club all formed here in his initial year, getting things going and trying to get that crowd involved. The band's in the house. They'll have a DJ going at some of the home matches at some point. Wants to make it an event, certainly like it is at many other spots in the Big Ten.
They even have the cheerleaders going at the baseline here.
All right, ready to go. Rutgers to serve. And here's a look at Mimi Fletcher to begin. Well, good work in the put away. Whitney Crago able to get it to go. Both of these teams will run the 6-2 offense, and intrigued how they go about things here in the early going. And
I like that set by Ogioni, reversing the flow, going back to Crago, confusing the Rutgers block in the front row.
Maryland with the response to the Terps on the board. Well, check out our new feature, BTN Netcam. You can stream our exclusive camera right now on BTN to go and get a unique look at the action. Always fun to get up close and personal at the net. Diving attempt there for the Terps. Frake able to keep it up, but that left an opening for Alex Lassa and the junior from Eagle, Ohio, putting it away.
And that was the youth of Murray shining through there a little bit on the block, but a nice attack by Rutgers utilizing that seam of the block.
Ashley Crutcher returning to the lineup for the Terps tonight. Got involved early. Rutgers staying in the point. Crutcher getting down to dig that one up. Free ball, though, here for the Scarlet Knights. And Rutgers getting Maryland a bit out of system. And the Scarlet Knights knock things up at 2 apiece.
One of the benefits of running the slide attack is that it's a quicker tempo ball, so it's a little bit more difficult to defend.
Michaela Matthews, junior from San Diego, California, on the East Coast, coming through with another point for the Scarlet Knights.
Michaela Matthews doing an excellent job of floating that serve right outside the libero's body. That's the bread and butter serve that you want to approach when going after your passers.
Amy Dion couldn't handle it. Another tough touch for the libero for Maryland, and make it 3 points in a row here for Rutgers.
And Amy Dion just needs to do a little bit better job of moving her feet to the ball. You can tell her posture's popping up a little bit. That ball's coming outside her shoulder, which is causing the ricochet outside of bounds.
Better effort from Dion. And it sets up Crago.
And a great swing by Crago, finding that outside seam of the block, coming inside a little bit by Ogioni. A nice pushed back inside set for the Maryland.
Be interesting to see how Maryland goes about things tonight. Crago at times has worked in the setting role, but really not a true setter, was a middle blocker in high school, so she's working up front. And Ashley Crutcher, if she can return and find the form that she had before, that's a great sign for Maryland. The senior from Raleigh, North Carolina, went down with an ankle injury. Third set of the match against Minnesota. Missed the last 3 matches. Game time decision, and able to give it a go here for the Terps. Good work and the off-speed shot. Haley Murray able to put it down.
A smart set by Crago. She pushes it back to the right side and then gives it to her Murray in the middle, doing a nice job with that off-speed, quick tempo attack.
Terps stealing the lead back. And that one belongs to Rutgers. Subs coming on for the Scarlet Knights. And Caitlin King, the senior from Naperville, Illinois, back to serve. And that's a service error. Side out point, Maryland. Important for Rutgers here to keep the heat on the road. Again, both of these teams looking to have some success in conference. And for Maryland, freakishly, of their 7 wins this year, none of them have been at home. This is their 5th home match, so try to get untracked here in College Park. That'll help the cause.
And certainly one of the keys tonight here for both sides is going to be the serve and pass battle. If you can get the other team out of system more frequently than not, you're going to have success at the service line.
Samantha Higginbotham, freshman from Middletown, Maryland, with a big serve. And now they come back to the Scarlet Knights and go off speed. And Lassa puts it down. Smart
shot choice there by Lassa. You can see she comes in firing with a full speed approach, and then at the last second just drops in that tip. A smart off-seat approach, because now the defense is going to be locked in on that tip, sucked in on their toes.
7-6 Terps. Ronnie Komisarek, the junior, can't keep it in.
And one of the struggle points for Rutgers this year has been those inconsistencies, those unforced errors, and something that they need to keep tabs on as a consistency for that group.
Yeah, CJ Wernicke just talking about limiting those, and they often come, as they do when you've got teams that are struggling, they come at the worst possible times. 8-7 Terps. Allie Schroeder, another Californian on this Rutgers roster, putting it in play. Good shot on the angle, Xavi St. Hill.
Smart play for Xavi to go to the deep perimeter corner shots. Those are the most difficult balls for the middle back defender to defend. Excellent job of seeing the court there on that play.
Maryland by 2. On the overpass, easy put away for Ashlyn McGregor.
One of the keys as a middle blocker is to always be aware when your server's in the back row getting you those overpass opportunities, you have to put those away, and that's exactly what McGregor brings to the front row.
Sophomore from Tarpon Springs, Florida. Good dig, Higginbotham. Can't get that one.
Excellent dig, though, by her down the line. Just a little bit of a missed hit on the front row, which is a difficult ball to read because I don't even think the hitter knows what she's doing when that happens. So for her, she's just got to be more weight forward on her toes, ready to react to that short play.
Rachel Andreassian let it fly, but hit it right at Higginbotham. Rutgers, though, ending up with a point, still down 2. And the Terps continue to mix it up. That's Frake, a junior from Wyoming, Ohio.
Smart choice for Frake there, because now she's setting up her defense to be sucked in, and when she goes to crank it down the line, they're not going to be prepared for it.
Frake coming in. Solid showing against Michigan over the weekend. 8 kills, couple of digs, couple of blocks. She and her Terp teammates starting to stretch it out here in set number 1. It's 12-8. And Frake, the second service error for the Terps. Rutgers also victimized by a couple of those serve miscues to this point.
And there's a fine line at the service line from making too many errors versus making smart errors of when you need to serve aggressively to get teams out of system, but there's also a fine line of making too many errors to throw that balance off.
CJ Wernicke giving some instruction. His team looking to whittle down this Terp lead and looking for the touch, not getting it, belongs to the Terps. Back set. Bear trying to set up the middle. See what Rutgers does on this opportunity. Yeah, they hit it into the double block and pay the price.
And there she comes firing back. Haley Murray doing a nice job with her footwork to get out to the pin, establishing a nice penetrated block, pushing all 4 hands over to zone 6, that middle back area of the court. Solid blocking position.
Well, the footwork for Murray should be good. Ballerina growing up, transitioned to volleyball just a couple of years ago. That time, she's bested up front by Michaela Matthews. But Murray, a player from nearby National Cathedral School in Washington, D.C., able to really fall in love with the sport. And boy, Steve Aird, so much promise in her game going forward.
And honestly, that footwork is so key for the middles that ballerina work will come to benefit her continuing on.
Ashley Crutcher, maybe not a ballerina, she's more of a blaster. She gets it done from the outside, and it's the Terps by 5. Big Ten volleyball going strong here from College Park. Well, for all the latest news, insight, and information from around Big Ten volleyball, be sure to follow BTN Volleyball on Facebook and Twitter today. Jason Knapp, Michelle McMahon, former Michigan Wolverine, watching Rutgers and Maryland here. Terps by 5. First set, Maryland hitting a robust 583 so far in this opening set. Rutgers continuing to try to make inroads on that advantage for the Terps.
And a smart setting choice there. Out to Lauren Cloyd, fooling the middle blocker on Maryland's side. Once again, Murray just needs to do a little bit better of reading that set a little bit faster and move those ballerina toes out to the pin.
And another service error for Rutgers. And that is costing the Scarlet Knights here as those begin to pile up. Third error against 2 aces for Rutgers. And Higginbotham serving for Maryland.
A lot of off-speed attacks happening here on both sides. Both defenses need to do a better job of reading the attacker in front of them. Reading that shown hand a little bit earlier and getting on their feet, sprawling out on the floor for those digs.
At Rutgers, we talked about the offensive numbers for Maryland in the 200 range at this juncture in the opening set. Good look for Frake.
And I like that quick tempo set out to the pin. Frake doing a nice job executing right through the seam, noticing that the middle blocker wasn't quite out to her other blocker.
Now a little stoppage here, a little wetness on the floor. Nathan Mahaven, the down official, going over to make sure that it's all dried up. Stacy Weitzel is the up official for this match. And CJ Wernicke having a little conversation.
It's a sport of blood, sweat, and tears, Jason, I'll tell you what.
Well, CJ Wernicke, if you may have heard him go by the name of Jeff at times, that's his given name. But you see CJ all over, you're wondering, how did you get CJ from Jeff? Well, before it used to be called Coach Jeff in other jobs, and the players wanted to shorten it to CJ, and it stuck. This team right now continuing to work on the comeback. And how official is it? He said his wife calls him CJ now, and if she's doing it, then it's probably good enough for everybody else. Rutgers trying to claw back here before Maryland can get to that 20-point range. Crago working for St. Hill. Bump set from Holes. Swing from the outside for Fletcher. Crago in the middle. Point Maryland.
Looks like they're going to call a lift on that one, but I'd like to point out the defense of Samantha Higginbotham doing an excellent job on the pin, down the line, but also cross court, setting up her team for success on that play.
Timeout taken here by CJ Wernicke and Rutgers. 5-point deficit. We'll step aside for a moment. More coming up from College Park on BTN. Steve Aird in the huddle with his Maryland team. They lead by 5 in set number 1. Big Ten Network Volleyball presented by Tachikara. Well, Aird would love to follow in the footsteps of some other great programs here at Maryland with national championship pedigree. How about field hockey? Missy Maharg and the Terps, number 2 in the nation right now. Some big wins, most recently a shutout of Rutgers here in College Park Sunday. And how about Sasha Sharovsky in men's soccer? Big win over Penn State, and then they upended number 5 Indiana on the road in Bloomington. So a couple of top 5 wins already on the campaign for a men's soccer program that's used to being highly nationally ranked. Ready to get back under play here in set number 1. Ogioni. Fletcher. And they will get the touch.
They're going to call a touch on that, though. I like the fearlessness, though, of that swing again. Going back to that youth of Fletcher on the pin. Going after those blockers' hands. She's fearless when she goes up to swing.
Fletcher able to get her second kill of the match. And Maryland right now still protecting this 4-point advantage. Nicole Bear, senior from Concord, Ohio, played her freshman year at Niagara, 3rd season now, working with the Scarlet Knights. Little misfire from Frake. Beautiful dig. Ogioni laying out. Block from Maryland. Rutgers still in it. Ogioni bumping for Crago. To the outside, and the put away for Lauren Cloyd.
Solid defense on Maryland's side, but Rutgers doing a nice job right now keeping themselves in system. They're running every play, getting a little too reliant on Fletcher right now, but that's okay because she's taking care of it. But when you get your middles involved, that's where you're going to have success because the Maryland block will not know what to expect.
Already over 600 swings for Fletcher at this point of the year coming in. Last year it was Lassa, who had a single-season Rutgers record with over 1,300 swings, and trying to find that balance and get everybody involved. But sometimes when you're struggling, you're looking for your big guns to do it all.
And that balance is so important. You need production out of all of your hitters if you want to have a successful team and a successful offense, especially in the Big Ten.
Fletcher one more time having success, able to push it through the block.
And a veteran move for the freshman, doing a nice job of really reading that block in front of her. She sees the hands were a little bit high, caught behind. Does a nice job executing on the pin.
Frake. Bear tight at the net. Opportunity Terps. They run the middle, but a big dig. Great work from Nicole Bear, helping earn the point, and Rutgers down 1.
Absolutely, and that's the kind of defense you need to have if you want to win games like these, especially in these close matches. A lot of errors going on right now. Great execution on the defensive end.
Now the veteran setter for Rutgers at her first double-double of the season against Michigan over the weekend in assists and digs, and her team continues to feel it. We're all even at 18.
And the Rutgers block right now is reading Maryland's offense really easily right now. They're setting up 4 solid hands on the block across from their outside attackers almost every swing at the last 5 points.
And Steve Aird can recognize that as well. An 8-3 run for Rutgers to get back in it. 18-all, set number 1 in College Park. Now the Rutgers Scarlet Knights feeling enthused. They should be. They've come back here to tie things up. First set on the road at Maryland. Some other Rutgers programs have gotten some fine moments in their initial year in the Big Ten. That includes women's soccer. RPI of 14 right now for the Scarlet Knights, tied for second in the Big Ten. Great showing for Mike O'Neill in his first year as head coach, so longtime assistant. And how about Kyle Flood, quarterback Gary Nova, celebrating their first ever Big Ten win against Michigan. Got thumped by Ohio State last weekend, but ready to get a taste of Lincoln and the Cornhuskers is the RU football team coming up this weekend.
And I have to say, as a Michigan alum, that one was a little bit painful to watch, Jason.
Certainly all these teams coming in and going to have some wins in the Big Ten. And certainly as they get acclimated, stronger they get, stronger overall the conference will be. Key moment here in this first set. Can Rutgers keep the run going, or will Maryland finally stop it? And a double hit.
One of the things I think that Rutgers doing a really good job of right now is they're getting high production out of their middles right now, putting Maryland's defense in a very difficult position to defend the ball.
Yeah, the offensive numbers have flipped. Remember, Maryland was almost 600 at one point. Now Rutgers in the neighborhood of 400, Maryland dipping, and boy, Matthews and others coming up with some big moments.
And that's Michaela Matthews showing her athleticism there, being very aware as a middle blocker, as I told you before, is a very important key for the middle blockers to assess. 2
swings, 2 kills for Matthews. And Rutgers 5 points away from storming back to take this first set. And there is a solid response for Maryland. McGregor.
And going back to that balanced attack, that's the production that you need out of your middle blockers to freeze up the blockers on Rutgers' sides. Excellent execution by McGregor in the middle.
Fletcher, she is not shy from Overland Park, Kansas. And the power is there. Her dad played football at Missouri. She's got some oomph in her game.
And I'm just really impressed by her ability to really hit every angle on the court. She's reading the block well, but also reading her defenders across the way. She knows which hots are open, playing like a veteran in the front row.
4 kills in the match in a service error. She is among the Big Ten leaders in aces per set. But that miscue, side out to Maryland.
And that would be an unideal time to make an error. Once you start to get in the 20s, that's when you gotta keep your serve in play. No matter what kind of high risk, high reward type of serving you want to execute. Once you get to 20, you gotta keep them in.
Danny Bazzini, junior out of Archbishop Mitty in California, into serve. Boy, a quick one to Matthews. Looked like the set was low from Baer, but they got it done.
A smart set. It was a quick tempo, but they brought it a little bit further than the usual quick approach for the middle blocker. Matthews doing a nice job of connecting with her setter and putting that ball away.
22-20 Rutgers. And it's Matthews restarting. Ogioni going outside. And Crutcher trying to put her influence on the latter stages of this first set.
And that's the kind of leadership that they need in the front row right now, putting those balls away. She wants to be in these big moments. She wants to be in these tight sets leading into the match.
Steve Aird wondering if Crutcher can come back tonight and give them a lift. Again, missing the last 3 matches with an ankle injury. All-conference performer in the ACC the last couple of years. And an honorable mention All-America performer as a sophomore. Rutgers able to win that battle at the net. 23-21. Caitlin King waiting to serve, and a timeout called, with Rutgers on the verge of breaking through here with a set victory at Maryland. About time now for our State Farm State of Success. It's the first meeting for these schools as members of the Big Ten. Rutgers leads 13-5 all-time against Maryland. But the last meeting was back in 2005. The Terps won that. And that is also the last year that Maryland went to the NCAA tournament. And in one of those little quirks of the schedule, these teams will battle again coming up this weekend at Rutgers. And interestingly, it's the first time that Rutgers will have ever hosted the Terps. A lot of the other meetings were at tournaments in the early portion of seasons gone by. Mimi Fletcher for Rutgers, again getting involved right from the get-go.
And once again, really impressed by her execution on the pin. I think with her youth, she goes up fearless, but also is very smart. She's intelligent. She's hitting those deep perimeter shots, but also has a nice cut shot that she rifles. But she makes good decisions on the pin as well, dropping in those tips in ideal situations, throwing off Maryland's defense.
Again, Fletcher, 4 kills, hitting .444 to this point. You look at some of these young performers. Holes has been performing better of late out of that great sports performance club in the Midwest. And Cloyd, one of the block leaders, too, out of that sophomore class for Rutgers.
And I like the set choices that Talia Holes is making right now. She's really making an effort to create that balanced attack. But then you got to credit the passers who are doing a nice job of keeping her in system, putting her in those 3.0 attack option situations.
Again, CJ Wernicke wanting to run a 6-2, went away from it a little bit when Holes struggled early, just went with Bear, but now back to that 6-2, and right now things humming along for Rutgers. Another ball handling error against Maryland, and it's set point for the Scarlet Knights.
Struggling there on the serve receive, but I like the aggressive set by Crego, forcing it into the middle. Just a little bit misconnection there between hitters.
Big rip for St. Hill. Frake. Holes. Free ball Rutgers. Holes to the middle. Super dig for Dion. And Maryland stays alive for the moment.
A nice rally there for the Terps, an excellent execution on the pin, doing a nice job of staying steady. They're forcing Rutgers to make the errors, and that's what you have to do at this point. Stay consistent, stay steady, keep that ball in play.
Third dig for Dion, maybe her biggest to this point. Holes on the slide, it's a beauty, and Rutgers has grabbed the first set. Rachel Andreassian, the senior from Fredericksburg, Texas, puts it away, and Rutgers, winless so far in conference, finally getting a set victory, and that's got to be a boost for the Scarlet Knights as they look to get on the board in Big Ten action. And the final point, the slide to the senior, and Rutgers takes the first set. Rutgers 25, Maryland 22, the score in set number 1. In the best of 5 here on Big Ten Network. To look at more volleyball coming up this week, really getting into the meat of the Big Ten regular season schedule. Some great matches coming up.
And again, each individual match requires a high level of attention to detail and preparation. I mean, these are some matchups that some upsets are bound to happen, and in the Big Ten we would expect nothing less. 7
teams ranked in the latest AVCA coaches poll, the top 25, and 10 in the conference in the top 50 in the RPI. Steve Ayer not worried about any of that right now. He's worried about getting his team back on track. What can the Terps do a little bit better here in set number 2?
The serve and pass battle. I think they need to do a better job passing, putting their setters in good positions to run every single one of her attackers.
Well, Rutgers picking up right where it left off. Alex Lassa, the junior, getting the first point here in set 2. Matthews back ready to serve. 3 kills for her in the opening set. Fletcher and Cloyd each with 4 to lead the way for Rutgers. And St. Hill got the majority of the points, at least the leader from Maryland with 3 kills. Crutcher able to float one to the floor.
And that's a smart tip. When you're in a perfect ideal situation, you're getting a perfect set on the pin, sometimes it's smart to drop in that tip to keep their defense on their toes. Now the next time she's in that situation, the defense won't know what to expect.
They're covering a lot of ground to get there, and that just not synced up properly. The Rutgers coming in, getting this set victory in the Big Ten. Been interesting talking to these coaches this week, and both of them really expressing their fondness of getting involved in the Big Ten and all that entails. See the put away there for the Terps. Steve Aird understand what it was like with his dealings for Penn State, but C.J. Wernicke really talking about it said, I sorely underestimated the impact of the Big Ten on everything going around. And certainly both of these programs finding out what it's like opening recruiting doors and the like.
And when you have the Big Ten brand behind you, the best players from a recruiting standpoint are going to want to play for the best conference, and that's arguably the Big Ten Conference. So that's what you're going to get from a recruiting standpoint with the best talent in the country.
Crago into the Rutgers block. Fletcher out of the back row. Dion with another good dig. And that one, they'll rule it to Maryland, saying there was a touch. And the Terps will take it in a 4-1 lead. The junior Dion serve. Quality attack from Cloyd.
And Lauren Cloyd's really going to town right now on that slide attack, and Bayer's just feeding it into her right now. She's going on a one-on-one situation and putting the ball away almost every time she goes out on the slide attack.
Now season high 11 kills earlier this year against Cornell for Cloyd. And 5 at this point early in set 2. Crutcher not able to have enough room. So 2 in a row for the Scarlet Knights. And Crutcher coming back from injury. Last year missed time with injury as well. Trying to help lead this team to some good moments as she rounds out her career. So look at the sophomore from Avon Lake, Ohio, Whitney Crago.
And that's a good serve. That's a tough jump float ball to pass. I can relate with Fletcher on that one. That was a very low to the net, hovered at the last second and then tailed off, which is the benefit of serving a jump float serve.
Ace number 11 on the year for the sophomore. Back-to-back beauties in the service game for Crago.
And the serve and pass game is what's going to keep Maryland in this game. If they want to have success in this overall match, they have to capitalize on the serve and pass battle, meaning getting Rutgers out of system as they've been doing so far with Crago at the back line.
Maryland 5-2 advantage in aces. Crago looking to keep it going. And she does. Whitney Crago is feeling it right now, and C.J. Wernicke's got to burn a timeout here and just try to break up that momentum.
and try and ice her at the service line, but Krego's doing an excellent job. I'm impressed by her serve. It's very low to the net, and again, it drops and it hovers. The float serve gets it right outside her passer's body and shanks to the outside. Excellent execution by Krego.
Now Maryland with a 5-point advantage here in set 2. Talking about impact in the Big Ten, Steve Aird talks about his relationship with his mentor. That's coming up.
Outside of my father, the most important man in my life, and my mentor, who's helped me more than anyone else in my career, and I care about him a lot. I love him, and he's been a guy who I've looked to, through all of my professional career.
Steve Aird talking about his relationship with Russ Rose. He played for Mark Pavlik in the men's program at Penn State, then on the staff with Penn State, left to pursue some other interests in volleyball, moved out to the West Coast, was teaching clinics, wrote a children's book, was doing some different things, and then when Dennis Hohenschel left Russ Rose's staff at Penn State to take over at Virginia, Aird got the call back, went back, and really has found himself with Russ's philosophy of being himself, and certainly Aird is himself here at Maryland.
He really is, and I love his approach. He's trying to build a culture here and he's not trying to build a team, he's trying to build a program, and he's made that very clear, and he's very honest and realistic about that. But just the positivity that he brings to this leadership, to the program for Maryland, is impressive.
To the outside, Fletcher, the Maryland block ready. Krego. St. Hill from a sharp angle.
St. Hill once again on the outside pin, doing a nice job of seeing that hole in the block, going right outside that middle blocker's arms. Excellent execution.
Terps by 5, 4 kills for Shabby St. Hill. And that one too strong from Andreassian. It's interesting talking about Aird and his relationship with Russ Rose. We asked C.J. Wernicke, was anybody influential as you come into the Big Ten in a new conference? So the first name out of his mouth was Russ Rose as well, saying that he would come and bring Penn State to play his team when he was coaching at Fairfield, and said that certainly Russ has influenced a lot of coaches in the eastern portion of the country.
And in addition to Russ Rose, he mentioned 3 other coaches in the Big Ten who have been very supportive of him, and I think that's the culture that they want to promote. Yeah, they compete every weekend, but they also want to support and they want to help.
Yeah, certainly mentioning some other coaching staffs in Indiana, Illinois, Ohio State, trying to share a little bit of the knowledge of just some of the travel, the logistical issues where you haven't seen in coming into a new conference. 11-5 Terps.
Looks like they're having an issue here. The line judge looks like he did not see the call. The down ref did call that it was inbounds and a Maryland point. And the up official is overruling that, calling out of bounds, point for Rutgers.
So Stacy Weitzel, the up official, having the final say. It'll be 10-6 here now, the score. And Rutgers certainly will take that swing on the scoreboard. Allie Schroeder back ready to serve. Captain here for the Scarlet Knights looking to the bench. St. Hill maybe starting to heat up at a big time for Maryland.
A perfect 3.0 situation there. You see Dion set up the perfect 3.0 pass, giving Krego every single attack option, and then a solid execution on the right side. That's what you want out of your attackers, but also your passers.
Block tried to close, but not fast enough. A service error for the Terps. And Rutgers going to sub. Bear going to go back and put this one in play. Rutgers winning the first set, 25-22. And again in that set, Maryland had a 5-point advantage at 15-10 before Rutgers raced back to tie it up and ultimately take the set win. And the defense doing it now for the Scarlet Knights.
Rutgers doing a nice job of really keying in on their hitters from a blocking standpoint. They put the solid block, penetrating over the net, solid defensive pursuit from Rutgers.
Matthews and company in the middle, showing up that time. Murray says enough of that. Kill for the freshman. Ogioni, her serve, transfer from Oregon State. Bear. Fletcher. Looking for a touch, none there, point Maryland. Steve Aird, some impassioned instructions for his Maryland side. And this about the point in the first set where that lead started to evaporate and Rutgers came all the way back. And Fletcher leading another push here for the road team.
Another veteran shot for the freshman, doing a nice job of showing cross court with her arms and then rifling it down the line last second.
You remember playing in this league, coming in as a freshman your first year, and at times it certainly can be intimidating. The block is big, there's powerful players, but to come in and have no fear, that's a great asset.
And to come in and to be able to make an impact. Here she has an opportunity to really step in and have a big role, which is the opportunity she has at Rutgers, but doing a nice job of taking it and being a leader on the court.
Frake and the Terps trying to put it together.
A smart set by Ogioni and a nice execution by Frake down the line, seeing that her block is pulled inside, taking her cross court away, executing down the line just so.
Bear all the way across. Lassa couldn't put it away, but double hit against Maryland, and Rutgers will get the point.
And a good indicator of when it's a double contact. That time it was called on Ogioni. When that ball is spinning, coming out of her setting hands, that's typically a good indicator that's going to be a double contact.
And Ogioni transferring in from Oregon State. Her first year of the Scarlet Knights, sophomore from Rome, Italy. And this Maryland team, when Steve Aird got here in the spring, they had no healthy setters. They lost a couple due to concussions last year. And Ogioni comes in and just trying to help settle things down for this team. Her parents both pro players in Italy, and their daughter has come in and done some nice things to this point for the Terps. Wow, big swing from Crutcher.
And there's the physicality that we see out of Crutcher. She gets a full approach there, swings over the top of the block, executing that deep corner shot. Well done by the senior outside attacker.
And it was an ankle injury that held her out the last 3 matches, but the hops right there, looking like she's returned to full health. Rutgers, though, every time Maryland threatens to break away here, Scarlet Knights get a little rally killer, but they have been unable really to put some multi-point strings together.
I think Maryland just getting a little bit sloppy on their block on that one. Lassa does a nice job of seeing that, but for Maryland, they just need to put solid hands across the net. Even if you don't get your feet there, put up a solid block to take away a portion of the court.
Good get from Schroeder for Rutgers. Crutcher right into the teeth of the Rutgers block.
And on the flip side of that, that was Frazier doing a nice job of keying in on the outside attacker, knowing exactly where that ball's over, pressing over the net, executing on the block.
Eden Frazier, another player that was kind of a game-time decision for Rutgers. She's been dealing with a back injury, but able to go full bore here for RU. Frazier laying out, keeping that alive. The joust. And point Maryland. Lift called on RU.
The rule of thumb, especially in the Big Ten, is to always keep playing. Even if you get a great stuff block, that doesn't mean that the other side's going to let up quite easy, especially in the conference like the Big Ten. They're there. They expect those plays to happen.
16-13 Terps. Well, the little miracle finding the floor there.
Just a little bit of a lapse there from the middle blocker, McGregor. A great execution at the service line. Those are the situations you want to create when you're going back there. You want those overpasses to come over. Those are gimmies. You got to put those away in the middle. Middle responsibility is to key in on the passer to make sure that overpass isn't coming to her.
It's kind of like misjudging a fly ball in baseball or softball. Didn't have the right depth, and it cost them, and now Rutgers getting another.
Hey, but Fletcher's going after it right now. She's really being aggressive at the front row, and I like that error because she's been executing at a high level. I think a give and take is okay for a player like Fletcher on the pin.
Yeah, another big attempt for her. Doesn't get credit for it, but certainly not shy and continuing to fire away. Trying to push it to the side and just running out of room. Andreassian couldn't keep it in. And Maryland, can they protect this lead in the set? Couldn't do it in the first. And Fletcher keeps on keeping on. Doesn't play like a freshman, doesn't have the mental makeup of a freshman. You see her really rallying around her teammate. Crago working the middle. The Rutgers D ready for it.
And one of the things I'm noticing right now on both sides is it's a very high tempo ball to the pin. A nice execution out of the middle, trying to get her middles involved with a quick tempo attack, but then Matthews was there to execute on the pin.
See Matthews covering a lot of ground and in perfect position. That's long, point Maryland. Andreassian, one of the leaders as a senior for this Rutgers group, so important. CJ Wernicke had the veterans kind of guide some of the younger players as this group moves into the Big Ten. Same deal for Steve Aird and the Terps, especially when going through some of the growing pains with the level of competition rising. They said, talking about the new travel and getting acclimated to everything, but part of that too is you might go on a road trip, you might play back-to-back top 10 teams, where in another conference maybe you'd see that maybe once or twice a year.
Exactly, and the Big Ten is going to bring that every single weekend, and that's why they do so well in the NCAA tournament, because you're playing the top-level talent in the country week in and week out.
Fletcher, look at CJ Wernicke really pushing his team right now. You look at the teams, the 7 ranked to the top 25 in the AVCA coaches poll. Steve Aird wants to chat about it right now, does not want another lead to slip away in a set. His team lost one and cost them the opening set, and Rutgers is nipping at the Terps' heels one more time. These teams, they're hunting victory. And right now, Rutgers is the team that's seized the big moments in the match.
And Michaela Matthews is executing at a high level in the middle, but also from a blocking standpoint, really having a big presence. She's keying in on her hitters across the net, doing a nice job knowing where they're going to be, anticipating the set, and then capitalizing from the blocking standpoint.
Well, certainly Matthews factoring into the equation here. And Maryland out of the timeout. Gets a good play run, and Murray converts.
And Murray's been a little bit quiet this match. I'd like to see her come alive a little bit in the middle, but to her defense, Maryland's not in system as much as they would like to be right now to be able to run her at a consistent level.
Just the second kill of this set for Murray, but it's a biggie. But the Terps give it right back on the service error.
Just shooting themselves in the foot with these errors. Once you get to the 20s, I'm telling you, it's a rule of thumb in volleyball. You do not want to miss your serve. Keep it in play, stay aggressive, but I would err on the side of safety from a service standpoint when you can fully control that aspect of the game.
And that's the 4th service error of the set on the Terps. Remember that string of 3 aces in a row for Crago. Essentially the errors wiping all those out. And Rutgers on a run. The Scarlet Knights do it. They've tied it up just like the first set.
And that's exactly what happens. It's a game of momentum here. Rutgers now doing a nice job at the service line of keeping the ball in play, but also getting it right outside that passer's body, doing a nice job of getting them out of system.
And guess who is at the controls of things right now? It's Fletcher. Another big serve. Lasse able to finish it off.
Once again, a nice setup by Fletcher there to get that overpass. That's what you want. You want to put your blockers in situations where they can put those balls away easily.
And Rutgers watching Maryland break from the starting line in both of the sets. And the Scarlet Knights have been the ones finishing strong. Murray, another key point here in set 2 for the freshman. Steve Aird talking about her, said she's a really good athlete and a great human being, embracing the challenge of getting better. Remember, only been playing volleyball a couple of years. Says it's like she's on chapter 2 of a really, really long book.
And she's a player that can go really far. She's athletic, but also that willingness to learn and that competitiveness. She's a little bit quieter, but you can tell there's a little bit of an internal spark with her. But those are the kind of athletes that you want to coach and mold into the volleyball players that you want them to be.
Well, Rutgers watching Maryland have issues again serving-wise. Scarlet Knights jump back on top. To the back corner with a chance here for the Terps. Crutcher, intelligent decision.
Smart play by Crutcher. We saw her the play before. Go hard, cut shot, cross court. There she sets her up for success on a perfect situation, throwing that dump in. That's the key value of throwing in the tips.
Crutcher with her most important point of the match. CJ Wernicke, his team having the lead, now watching the Terps respond. (22 all). Bear. And Cloyd gets stuffed.
Cloyd, who's been typically doing a nice job off one foot, but Crutcher using her veteran skills, keying in on that cross-court attack. She knows that's the angle that Cloyd likes to hit, capitalizing on the block. Nice job by the senior.
Never quite got over, hit the top of the tape, but certainly the block was in position, and Maryland 2 points away from tying us up at a set apiece. Talking about the youth movement for both of these teams, and here specifically for Maryland, Haley Murray, leader in percentage. Ogioni, the sophomore transfer setter, been helping put Murray in some good spots.
They certainly do, and Ogioni doing a nice job of owning the setting position, but also putting the freshman middle blocker into a position where she can have success and put the ball away. But in order for that to happen, they have to keep themselves in system, which starts from their defense and their serve receive.
Well, for Murray, who's over there in the bench area right now, 3 of her 4 kills coming in this second set, hitting 400 in this set alone. And part of the reason Maryland is in position to get the set equalizer on the Scarlet Knights. The serve from Dion. That's long.
Looks like a touch was called by the line judge, but the ref is going to overrule it from a touching standpoint. And of course, she has the best vantage point on the court, going to overrule that play. And I didn't see a touch on that one. I think she made the right call.
And again, the players in question nearer the up judge on that side. And Stacey Weitzel with the overrule. So again, it is the point to Maryland. And set point. That's long. And the Terps on the board. Yeah, they lost the lead, but this time Maryland got it back and got it done. And we're tied at a set apiece. Two new members to the Big Ten this season, each vying for their first conference victory. And now it's a little mini best of three to decide the victor. We'll go around the Big Ten in a moment. Well, the Terps getting a little wet, at least on the outside tonight. Some showers in the area here in College Park, but everything is dry and fun inside here. Maryland hosting women's volleyball on the Big Ten Network for the first time. But the Terps doing good things in set number 2 to even us at a set apiece. Jason Abb, Michelle McMahon, Mimi Fletcher lighting it up early for Rutgers.
And she's a freshman that does not play like a freshman. She finds a way to put the ball away. She likes to be in those pressure-filled moments. She sees the block in front of her and finds a way to put the ball away. I love the way that she attacks the block and her aggression with the youth.
Ashley Crutcher for Maryland. Remember, she missed the last 3 matches with an ankle injury. She's back in fine form.
And she's using her veteran vision to mix up her shots right now. She hits those powerhouse angles, but she also knows when to throw in the tips. She brings that leadership to the table and really anchors that offensive outside hitting position for the Terps.
She and St. Hill each with 5 kills apiece to lead the way for Maryland. Again, Fletcher and her 8 individual kills pacing Rutgers. Lassa has 6. You look at the overall numbers, pretty much what you would expect for 2 teams tied at a set apiece as things have evened out. And Maryland surviving those big service errors at key moments. They're able to get by them in set 2.
The errors are key, especially when you get to those 20s. Those are the points where you really need to stay consistent. But even throughout the match, I think both sides would like to see them steady out with those errors.
So Maryland winning the first, or excuse me, Rutgers winning the first, Maryland the second. And the third is underway here from College Park. Crowd ramped back up into it too here at Xfinity Center Pavilion. Dion with a bump. Frape trying to take a shot from the back row, and that didn't look promising from the get-go. Rutgers with the first point here in the third.
Just a little bit of a difficult set for Frape to execute on. I would like to see that ball go high to the outside, right side attacker to have an aggressive chance to make a play on that shot.
Schroeder. And Lassa putting it over. Free ball, Maryland. Crutcher capitalizing. That was a cruncher.
And they certainly were missing Ashley Crutcher when she was out with that injury, but that's the powerhouse attacker that we know and love. Look at the way she sees the blocker's hands and crushes right through the outside seam.
And we mentioned injuries have bothered her this year, last year. Sophomore year, she was healthy and awesome. Honorable mention, AVCA All-America, was in the top 80 in the nation in kills per set. Rutgers able to get that point. And that kind of hurt Steve Eyre. They also lost Audrey Elliott, another talented senior. She down for the year with a knee injury. That's been something that's been difficult for Maryland to respond from. Also, Alex Brown, sophomore, out with a shoulder problem. Hasn't played at all this year. Kelsey Rebenach, she was down a little banged up earlier in the year. She's come back and blossomed here for the Terps in the middle portion of the Big Ten campaign.
And that's what Rebenach brings to the table. She's calling for the ball every single time, doing a nice job there, finding that deep corner perimeter shot.
2-2 in the third. And Cloyd had to wait a little bit to celebrate to make sure that Maryland wasn't going to track it down, but she does get credit for the kill.
And Lauren Cloyd has been impressing me in the middle position. She's hitting the ball a deep slide attack, but also brought inside for that short slide attack, doing a nice job of executing, but a smart setting choice there for Rutgers. Cloyd is doing a nice job of making herself a presence in the middle right now.
She led the team in the matches against Illinois and Purdue with 8 kills in both of those. Crutcher now really rounding into form. And again, when you don't have that game kind of timing and rhythm, takes a little bit. She certainly found it there in the second set, and that's continued here in the third.
And you can tell she's in a little bit of pain there, but still making excellent choices on the court. There you saw her throwing a little bit of off speed. She's hitting every angle of the court, making it very difficult for Rutgers defense to make a play.
We're talking with Steve Aird before the match, said it was kind of up to her, up to Ashley if she wanted to give it a go. She'd been cleared by the doctors. He wasn't sure if he wanted to push the issue, said if she kind of smiles after warm-ups and gives me the look, I know she'll be able to go. And she's going for the Terps. St. Hill knocked that one out of play.
Just caught that ball a little bit too far behind her shoulder, forcing the out-of-bounds attack for St. Hill.
Here's a look at the senior Crutcher. And that Big Ten logo proudly on the uniforms of the Terps and Rutgers for that matter. And ball handling violation on Rutgers. Point Maryland.
Looks like there's a net violation there for Talia Holes. That's one of the downsides, though, of running a 6-2 is when your setter's always coming from the back row, you have to be really careful with those tight passes.
And it was a net call against Holes. 4-all. Boy, Frake floating in and hammering that away.
Love the energy right now that Krego's bringing to the court. Frake doing a nice job there of tooling the block, going after that ball high, outside hands to the tool.
Both of these teams energized. Both having issues trying to find success in conference play, and they both know opportunity is there tonight. Set a piece. And time for somebody to kind of elevate their game and help their team really seize control of this match. Schroeder serve. Almost a collision in the back there for the Maryland D. Not enough for Rutgers to keep it going.
A nice job by Frake using her physicality to reach over and be aware of what's happening during that play. Excellent play for the senior.
6-5 Terps. Holes. Andreassian couldn't put that away. Will she get another attempt? Nope, it's Matthews. And the touch is there. Rutgers gets it.
Smart play for Matthews to find those high hands off the block, utilizing that off-tempo attack against the blocker.
Matthews' sister Brea plays college basketball at San Jose State. And Matthews from California. Fletcher went power. That got sent back. Second one over top of the block. And now it's Rebenak wide.
A little overambitious on that attack, but it's Frake who's taking over right now, really keying in on both of her responsibilities from an offensive standpoint and also on the block, being really disciplined in the front row.
Murray in the middle. That found the double block of the Scarlet Knights. Trying to get Fletcher going here in this third set. Nothing doing.
Emily Frake once again doing a nice job on the pin of establishing herself as a solid blocker, making it easy for Murray to meet her outside on the pin, establishing a solid block across the net.
Maryland with the block advantage in the match by 2. And net call coming up.
And it looks like that one might have been on Ashley Crutcher there, just reaching over top of the net, caught it with her hand. Another unforced error for the Terps.
Steve Aird trying to get his team settled in. First 2 sets, Maryland stretched out a little bit of a lead. This one going back and forth in the early going. What a get. Ogioni laying out for it. Another get from her, but another call at the net.
Excellent execution by Cloyd on the pin off of that one-footer slide attack, and a good defensive pursuit by Maryland. Cloyd doing a nice job of staying consistent. It was Crutcher again, just clipping the net a little bit too excited on that block.
Rebenach. Lassa. Tracked down by Frake. Bear. Lassa with a big swing.
A great setting choice by Bear. She saw that Murray on the middle blocking side for Maryland was caught up on her set. She jumped with her middle. Excellent choice by the setter to put her outside hitter one-on-one.
Smart decisions for the setter. There's some smart young women on this Rutgers team. Third straight year, this squad won the ABCA Team Academic Award for GPA. You need a 3.3 to get it. Team GPA for this group in the neighborhood of 3.5 last year. And timeout here as Rutgers is putting it all together in a surge in this third set to go up 4. Tied at a set apiece. More third set action coming up from College Park. There might be some treasures there that could make the show. They handed out volleyball scarves tonight to a lot of the students and fans coming here, so that might be a trinket that they'll look for in Big Ten treasure hunter.
And if Maryland volleyball steps up like Arid visions it so, they might be that valuable down the road.
Now, first things first, try to settle in here as Rutgers continues to pile up the points and lengthen the lead in the third set.
And the first thing that stands out to me is Maryland's hitting 0 right now. That means they're making as many kills as they are errors. They got to level out on those errors and force Rutgers to make the same errors.
That'll help the cause. And that's Murray. Again, remember, she and Crutcher, some of the go-to players, responded with big moments in the second. We'll see if that theme continues here in the third set. See a little instruction for the freshman as she checks out on the bench. Dion serve, handled and put away. Cloyd getting it done.
Once again, the sophomore Lauren Cloyd, we see her versatility. There she goes off 2 feet in front of the setter, but all match long, we've also seen her go off 1 foot behind the setter, so she's a very difficult person to block right now.
Cloyd perfect so far in this third set. 3 attacks, 3 kills. And the lead 5 for the Scarlet Knights. Crutcher. Ogioni, Rebenach both checking out. McGregor and Murray returning. Crago to serve. Dion really hustling back to keep it up. Double contact called against Rutgers.
And that's the defensive pursuit that's going to keep Maryland in this match if they want to stay in it and capitalize on the victory. But excellent job of staying in it, and Dion with the chase down. That's what you want out of your libero, is 100% effort all the time.
You also want versatility out of your libero, and Dion showed some last year. We told you about the setting issues. A couple of the Maryland setters last year went out with concussions, so Dion moved to that role. She's set, now she's back in her comfort zone as a libero defensive specialist, and she and her team really rolling right now.
And it's Crutcher once again on the pin who's sparking the offense. She brings that powerful, explosive arm swing to the table.
Always got to be worried about where number 14 is in white. Rutgers able to stop that mini run. Andreassian checking back in. Frazier in the front too, and here's Holmes. Crutcher one more time. Well, you got her back from injury. She's hot, feed her.
She is, and you can see she's kind of nursing one ankle over the other, but nonetheless doing a nice job of keeping the ball in play. We see her hit the line. We see her hit cross court. She's really bringing all the shots and executing them at a high level.
Trying to help lift she and her Terp teammates to their first Big Ten Conference win. Ditto the goal on the evening for Rutgers. Again, Maryland's been plagued by some issues at inopportune times. Now suddenly it's starting to haunt Rutgers as they have the lead.
And that was a focus that Coach Wernicke had focused on when we spoke to him earlier, as limiting those errors, but also limiting them when the time is unideal. And that's now.
Yeah, the Terps finding their way back, tied at 14. Fletcher trying to rally Rutgers. Coach Wernicke looking on. His team trying not to fall behind now. That'll help. Just pops over and Lassa puts it down.
Nice discipline by Lassa to stay out of the net on that one, keep the ball in play, but also make sure that she puts it down aggressively.
Rutgers back in front. And Junior Lassa stepping out. 12 double-doubles for her last year. Again, she was the attempt leader. That honor has gone to Fletcher this year. Komisarek involved. Not able to capitalize. Maryland serving at 15 all. And Rutgers gets it right back.
Getting a little crafty with their offense, and that's Adriasen doing a nice job of executing that quick tempo attack off of the setter. I like that they have two quick tempos coming in at the same time.
Murray in the middle. Boy, Terp fans are going to like to hear that call for the next 3+ years.
They certainly are, and she's only going to get better. She's a little bit raw right now, and she's still bringing it to the table. Look at the way that she executes. She gets up high, she's athletic, and she puts that ball away. It's a quick ball, very difficult one for the wing defenders to defend.
6 kill for Murray. First of this third set. Fletcher with a cannon shot. That one almost grazed the ceiling here at Xfinity Center Pavilion. Still in play, not anymore. Rebenach ending the point.
Just a hair away from a communication error there, but a nice job by Rebenach by reacting back and paying attention to what's going on. Staying involved in the play and putting up a solid block on the play.
Got that left mid on it. The lead seesawing back and forth. The block of Maryland will put the Terps up 2.
And a spark of energy from the freshman, Murray, who's putting up a solid block, doing a nice job of keying in on that middle attacker that's right in front of her.
Yet a player continuing to grow her volleyball knowledge, the defense there. And Maryland trying to jump on top of this match and go up 2-1. As they like to say at Maryland, fear the turtle. And the Terps fell behind, dropping the first set here at home. But they've responded, taking set 2 in the lead in the third on Big Ten Network. Jason Knapp, Michelle McMahon, Haley Murray, the freshman, finding the right times to make an influence in this match.
And she's young, but it's her physicality and her athleticism that shows a lot of promise for Haley Murray, and she's got a lot of upside for the future of this program, doing a nice job of holding such a strong presence in the middle.
Well, Murray, part of this Maryland team, and Steve Aird, when you talk to him about putting things together and what he wants out of his players, he says he wants angst. He goes, I was a guy that played with a chip on my shoulder. That's what I'm looking for from this group. And this is the time, if you're going to respond as a battler here in a major moment, in a tied match in a key third set. Pulls. Andreassian puts it over. And Rebenach, trouble with the antenna. And Rutgers with a point. Tough serve from Bear. Dion had to do everything just to stay in it. Fletcher off speed. Ogioni had to make a nice play. And that one ricocheting big time off the block. Rutgers can't save it.
And volleyball's a game of momentum, so this is going to carry them through, especially when we get to the 20s, Jason. We've been talking about the errors kick in, and we got to keep steadying out on both sides.
Tough serve. Frake picking a fine time to come through on the serve. A quality effort for the Terps, 2017. Fletcher, big time swing.
Fletcher, once again, she sees that she only has a one-on-one blocking situation on her. Again, Murray jumped with the setter. She does a nice job of seeing that open cross-court shot and taking full advantage.
And the freshman coming through with her biggest kill, 9 kills now in the match. Off her serve. And her dig. Crutcher able to find a way.
Once again, we see the powerhouse attack that she has, but also dropping in those tips on a perfect set situation, and that's the benefit.
Crutcher in double figures in the kill category. Only player there in the match. Double contact Rutgers. Timeout now Rutgers. 22-18 in favor of the Terps. They'll take a break as well. You're watching Big Ten Volleyball presented by Tachikara on Big Ten Network. Now it's a picture-taking night. Time to remember. First Big Ten Network match here at Maryland. And right now the home squad trying to make it a happy set of memories. Ashley Crutcher doing all she can to make sure it's a positive night of memories for the Terps.
And what makes her so good is she's a shot queen. She can really hit every angle of the court, but she picks smart shots in the right moments to make those plays. She reads the court around her really well and also attacks the block that's right in front of her.
11 kills now for Crutcher overall, hitting .348. The Terps trying to come up with 3 more here to go up 2-1. Dion ready to trigger it for the Terps. And Bear with a bad time to have a bad set.
A little bit uncharacteristic for the senior setter there, and especially a head scratcher for Coach Wernicke, who's, again, disappointed with the unideal unforced error.
Bear trying to go to the middle. That looked like it might be going out, but Frake kept it going, and Rutgers finishes with a defense.
A tough situation for Crutcher to execute on. That ball was coming from behind her shoulder. She had a solid double block up in front of her. Just a little bit of a difficult attack for the outside hitter.
Cloyd and her teammates closing the angle. And Rutgers now needs to put together a little mini run. Ogioni. Rebenach. It's kind of a routine swing, but the result is good.
A smart swing for her to slow down that arm and hit that deep perimeter line shot right between two defenders, doing an excellent job of seeing the block.
Makes it set point here for Maryland. Cloyd keeps on coming here for Rutgers.
And Cloyd is a lethal weapon in the middle for Rutgers right now. She's doing an excellent job, as we saw, 2 feet in front of the setter, but also that quick tempo slide attack is not only a difficult ball to block, but also a difficult ball to line up on defense.
Cloyd closing in on 10 kills in the match. Crago. And that'll work. St. Hill off the block and out, and Maryland gets it done. Back-to-back set victories for Steve Aird and the Terrapins. And Maryland, after allowing Rutgers to storm back and take set 1, they've gotten 2 in a row on the verge of closing things out in College Park. Now the chance for a Big Ten breakthrough in women's volleyball for either Rutgers or Maryland tonight, each looking for its first conference win in their initial seasons in the Big Ten. Right now, advantage Maryland. Back-to-back set wins for the Terps, up 2-1 on the Scarlet Knights. But Mimi Fletcher, the phenomenal freshman for Rutgers, trying to lead her squad back here in set number 4. Jason Knapp, Michelle McMahon, the great standout from Michigan, and our Big Ten Network crew. We're glad to have you along for this showdown between the Scarlet Knights and the Terps. Well, Fletcher coming out firing, as she's been known to do throughout this match. Not on point that time, and Maryland takes the first here of the 4th.
And I think Maryland's doing a good job of putting the pressure on her and forcing her to make those errors. They're keying in on her now and taking away her attack options.
And again, we mentioned she's in the neighborhood of double figures in kills, but the hitting percentage well under 100 for Fletcher. Nice save for the Terps, but Rutgers will take the point. Well, if you're CJ Wernicke right now, you won that first one here on the road. You've dropped the next 2. You've been in both of them. What are you telling your team at this point to keep you going here?
Get back to the fundamentals, and that comes down to the passing again. Those skills are something that he said that they focus on every single practice, and something that's been their strength. So winning the serve and pass battle, get Maryland out of system, but on the flip side of that, put your setter in the best position to run her offense.
And it seemed like there were some times, there were some ball handling errors in key moments there in the 3rd that let Rutgers down. And Crutcher with another big pop. Cloyd. Off speed from Crutcher. Little scramble for the Scarlet Knights, but they do stay in it. Crutcher again.
A good aggressive attack by Crutcher. Looks like that ball might have been sailing out of bounds, but Fletcher thought it was too close for comfort. A good defensive pursuit. Should have thrown an extra arm out there to get that double platform to make a defensive play.
The reaction trying to slow down the freight train that's actually Crutcher right now as she is rolling along.
And how about a player that's on fire right now? And that's Lauren Cloyd, who's really been taking over in the middle all match long, doing an excellent job off 2 feet and then again off 1 foot on the pin, fooling the double block for Maryland.
And when they've needed kind of a rally stopper, more often than not, they've gone to Cloyd in the middle. Crutcher feeling it, but not that time. The serve, touch long from Holes. That's the 7th serve error for Rutgers against 4 aces in the match. Maryland, a little bit better ratio, 8 aces to 7 errors. Fletcher from the back row, no problem.
A nice out-of-system situation, and Fletcher putting that away. Maryland making that decision to not block on that, thinking that the bump set may not work for Fletcher, but with a player like her that's executing, I might throw up a block or two on her on the back row, no matter what situation she's in.
You got to be aware of where Fletcher is at all times, front row or back row. And Crego not able to save it, and now Rutgers vaulting itself in front.
Komisarek doing a nice job of getting Maryland out of system, breaking down their passing formation, forcing the libero Dion into an error.
And the junior from San Mateo, California. Tough serving. Little roll attempt from Fletcher. Poles going behind, and Lauren Howard Chavez, the redshirt freshman, just seeing some minutes here in the fourth, can't quite convert.
Like that setting choice though, putting her in a situation just a little bit too far behind her.
Howard Chavez went to Miami and Florida last year, redshirted, and transferred to Rutgers. This is her first season on the floor.
And that was St. Hill with a nice establishment on the block on the pin, pressing towards her middle blocker, and McGregor to seal that, a nice solid block, pushing back to the deep 6 zone.
And Maryland has the block advantage in the match, and they have the advantage in the set again. Only for a fraction of a moment as Frazier comes back with a big kill.
And even through a triple block, she finds the seam. That cut shot is her bread and butter.
Another transfer making an impact for C.J. Wernicke and the Scarlet Knights. Frazier at Utah. It is her first season with Rutgers. Big thump from Frake. Dion bumping it up from Frake. How about the libero with a quality pass?
That's a really impressive kill for Frake, because the Rutgers block sets up, taking her cross-court shot, thinking that might be the only possibility that she has. She does a nice job of turning her shoulders at the last second with a set that's coming from behind her body.
Frake able to finish. And the service error from Higginbotham. (7-7), Steve Aird coaching up McGregor and others on the bench. And for these teams in the heat of battle, both been on the losing end in the last few weeks, and now the taste of victory for both. You get the sense you're getting a little more effort, even more. You got two desperate teams that want to break through.
And Frake really stepping up on the outside right now, finding a way to put the ball on the floor, even in unideal situations.
7 kills, 9 digs for Emily Frake. Cloyd again.
Looks like Frake is down.
Yeah, colliding with that support.
Looks like she slammed her knee into the post and might be showing a little blood here, but looks like she's walking it off, and that would be an unideal person to be injured for Maryland right now.
Certainly somebody that's been front and center of the attack and the defense for Maryland. And they get that taken care of in short order. Get the knee pad on top of that. Frake ready to go again. Don't forget Big Ten treasure hunter up after we're through here in College Park. What will they unearth coming up on Big Ten treasure hunter? Which one of these teams is going to be able to dig up their first conference victory? Rutgers saying, hey, hold on, we're trailing, but we want it too.
Fletcher doing a nice job executing at the service line. She's really a true 6 rotation player. She gets them out of system from the service line. She's a good passer, defender, and then she also, we've seen what she can do on offense.
She's closing in on a double-double. The block powerhouse for Cloyd and Matthews.
Great blocking execution on the pin, and that's Cloyd who establishes herself, making it easy for Matthews to close in on the block, pushing back all 4 hands over the net. Solid blocking position.
10-8 Scarlet Knights. And Fletcher into the net. Craig bandaged up, ready to go one more time for the service line. The middle to Matthews. That works.
Good defensive effort on Maryland's side, but Matthews once again doing a nice job of executing on that quick tempo attack that's pushed a little bit closer to the outside position, making it very difficult for the defenders to defend.
6 kills for Matthews. She had a season-high 15 against Air Force in the non-conference portion of the schedule. And again, Rutgers, a couple of bad moments to throw in service errors. Still have the lead, but again, the chance to really got to make it 4 to 5 points goes away. Crutcher continuing to find a way. What would you do right now to try to slow down 14?
I would establish a block early. Tell my middle blocker especially to cheat out towards the pin. You know the ball is going to go outside continuously, but also that pin blocker needs to do a better job of sealing the antenna and her line shot.
Well, Dion getting a little help from the net. Terps will take it and the lead as well. Fletcher can't handle the serve. Dion putting together a run. Timeout, Rutgers. Maryland trying to finish things off and close out a fun night in College Park with a Terp victory. Can they do it? Stay with us and find out. A look at this match summary. 2 hungry teams here in the Big Ten. Rutgers rallying in the first set, coming from behind to grab the victory. Same situation in set 2, but Maryland found a way to get it done and then held the lead, taking set 3. 2-point advantage right now in set number 4. Jason Knapp, Michelle McMahon, and you with us here on Big Ten Network. Big Ten Volleyball presented by Tachikar. Who's going to have the togetherness as a unit to put this thing away? Frazier with a nice moment. And the back issue that's been bothering her, holding up so far so good for her and the Scarlet Knights. Don't forget, Big Ten treasure hunter to follow us at the conclusion of this match here in College Park. Point Rutgers, double contact Maryland.
Impressive block, though, the play before by Frazier, doing a nice job of really keying in on that middle attacker, putting 2 solid blockers up. I like that pursuit by Rutgers.
Crutcher continuing to fire away. Holes looking for Howard Chavez. Frazier solo block.
Once again, keying in on her middle attacker, timing it perfectly. McGregor, I like that aggression. I think she just needs to find a way to flick her wrist left or right, find that cutback or find that strong angle, pick a shot and go after it.
14-13 Rutgers. Crutcher off the antenna. In a tough spot there. Well back, bad angle, can't make it work. Timeout. So Rutgers trying to extend this to the distance, to a 5th set. Here in the 4th, it's the Knights by 2. Well, Steve Aird in his first year of leading the program, Maryland Volleyball, been talking about not building a team, but building something to last in that program, getting the community involved, the students involved, and he's been partnering with Phi Kappa Tau fraternity for a program called Serious Fun Children's Network, the network founded by the actor Paul Newman, working with 75,000 seriously ill and disabled children and their families in 2013 alone. And the big run-up for Maryland and the fraternity and sorority system here at Maryland is a big 5-on-5 volleyball tournament for charity. All the proceeds benefit the Serious Fun Children's Network. That's coming up this weekend. They got 50 teams signed up for that, getting great campus involvement, and a lot of those students here to support the real volleyball stars on campus.
And once again goes to show the head coach Steve Aird is really involved on campus. He wants to be a part of Greek life just as much as he wants them to be a part of volleyball life, and merging the two together is an excellent, only can be an excellent event.
Trying to build that atmosphere here. They had a match over the weekend before the Midnight Madness ceremony for basketball, so they got a little bit of a lift from those fans checking out the great hoop team. And now trying to build their own little mark in their gym here at the Pavilion. That'll help when you get quality play from your vets like Rebenach.
Ogioni doing a nice job of putting her on a split blocking situation, and Rebenach doing a nice job executing through the seam.
Big knock for Rebenach, but the Terps still trailing here in the 4th. Frazier popped it over, and now Rutgers knocks it away.
A great defensive pursuit on Maryland's side, and another unforced error by Rutgers, but that's the payoff. When you dive for balls in a nice pancake by Dion to start that play, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get the payoffs.
Crago right after it with the serve, and it's in, and we're tied at 16.
Whitney Crago has a rifle of a serve, and I love that she's a competitor. She finds ways to find the seams and passers, puts that ball right on the deep service line.
And no weight either. She gets up and gets right after it. Maryland's defense chipping in. St. Hill with a block.
And we see volleyball's a sport of momentum. Maryland is stringing together a couple of good points here based off of Crago's serve, putting them in the best position to have success, forcing the ball high outside of the pin.
Rutgers staying alive. Crago gives one back. Komisarek subbing in for the serve. Thunderous swing from Crutcher. And Maryland ends up with a point.
And the aggression paying off for McGregor there. I like that she's going after those balls coming over in the middle of the court, doing a nice job of putting that one away. I'd like to see a little bit more confidence and aggressive and assertiveness in putting that ball down.
18-17. Holes. Howard Chavez making a contribution.
Smart setting choice for Talia Holes, putting her in a split blocking situation, and then Chavez executing with the cut shot.
Redshirt freshman with a big point for her team. Wow. Matthews read that perfectly and totally stuffed St. Hill.
And Matthews has been solid on her blocking game all night. She has been reading her hitters, but also reacting to the pin very quickly with her feet, with her eyes, doing a nice job pressing over with her shoulders.
Schroeder getting back. Free ball, Maryland. St. Hill, too much on it. Rutgers up 2.
And once again, the payoff for that defensive pursuit, and that's Allie Schroeder anchoring the defense, really putting it all on the line for Rutgers.
Big Ten treasure hunter following us. Question is, will it be after the 4th set or a 5th? Steve Aird going to talk about it, see if his team has another rally in it here in this set. The prize for these two teams, an initial Big Ten Conference victory. One of them will have it, the other one will continue searching after this night. 2-1 lead for Maryland at home. Rutgers, though, in position to send us to the maximum, to a 5th set. Schroeder with the serve. Scarlet Knights up 2. Holes dancing in to get a good set for Fletcher, who finishes.
A solid execution for Fletcher, noticing that McGregor was a little bit late on her block, finding those hands and executing, putting the ball away.
And Scarlet Knights can taste it. Can they finish it off, though, here in the 4th? Break down the line. Fletcher. Frake again, trying to go to that opposite corner. And Frake at the net. Now the violation going to be against Howard Chavez in that battle of number 4s.
And these are the errors that are going to cause either the momentum to shift in their favor or against their favor. If they can continue to steady out and execute at the service line for Rutgers, they'll have success. On the flip side of that, Maryland needs to do a better job of putting themselves in system and being a little bit more aggressive at the service line.
Danny Bozzini, the lefty, coming in to serve for the Terps at a big moment. And Matthews finding open floor.
We like to call that the paintbrush sometimes if it's a mishit. And it's actually a very tough ball to defend because you can't read it.
And the junior, Michaela Matthews, will take it. 22-19. Rutgers 3 away from sending us to a 5th set. Big time for a service winner.
And Bayer's been doing a nice job all night long of getting Maryland out of system, breaking down their passing formation. An unideal time for your passing to break down right now for Maryland.
There's the ace story. Maryland with more, but Bears a biggie at this moment in the match. The block shutting it down. How about a triple block set up in the middle?
And Matthews leading the way on the forefront for Rutgers, doing a nice job of anchoring the block and the defense. Keyed in on Murray. That's her responsibility, her middle blocker in front of her, executing on the block.
Well, a handful of set points here for Rutgers to work with. Murray gets one back for the Terps.
And the freshman unafraid that it is game point for Rutgers. I like that the setting choice went right back to her from Craigo. Murray doing a nice job finding that last-minute seam with the cutback shot.
Ogioni will put it into play. Bear gets shut down. Tight at the net. And the block fittingly closes it out for Rutgers. Matthews front and center. And the Scarlet Knights coming all the way back to send us to a 5th set. Fun times at College Park. The road team pushing the home team to the max here on BTN. Whatever you do when you come to Maryland, don't try to get into a dance contest with the Turtle. Now don't forget, John Arcan hits the road, searching for the best Big Ten collectibles around. That's coming up, all new episode of Big Ten Treasure Hunter right after volleyball here on BTN. Some people, they might be searching for rhythm here in the stands, trying to get their groove on. One team's looking to put it all together and find things at the end here in the 5th. Lauren Cloyd, great in the 4th.
She's been absolutely pivotal for the offense, doing a nice job in the middle, anchoring on all sides of the ball. She does the attack out the middle, out of the front of the setter, but also equally effective from behind the setter.
So here we go, playing to 15, need to win by 2. In the 5th, Cloyd, a dozen kills, 450, the hitting clip for her. Now those miscues we've seen both teams come up with at bad times get magnified here in the 5th. We'll see which squad is crisper and which one can get it done. The block finished off the 4th and starts the 5th for Rutgers.
And what more appropriate than Michaela Matthews once again to be anchoring it, but a nice job by Lassa on the pin, making it once again easy for Matthews to match her out on the pin.
Maryland's had the block lead all the way through, but Rutgers closing it in. 12-11 at this point. And point Scarlet Knights.
Looks like they're going to call a back row attack against Ogioni on the set, saying that Matthews' hands might have hit the ball before Ogioni's, then therefore making her a back row attack since she's the setter coming from the back row, and technically that would be considered a block.
Steve Aird getting a little explanation from Nathan Mahaven, the down official. Don't know whether he agreed with it, but he accepted it. And his team down 2. They get one back on the service error from the Knights. Here's Amy Dion. Grew up in Big Ten country, Algonquin, Illinois. It'll be fun to have the opportunity to get a Big Ten win here with her squad for Maryland. Defense really leading this resurgence here for Rutgers.
I like the aggression out of Ashley Crutcher right now, but once again, Cloyd executing on the pin, taking care of that blocking situation.
Crutcher leads the way, 15 kills for the Terps. Cloyd with 12, Fletcher with 11 to pace Rutgers. Lassa denied. Another chance. Rebenach got a piece. A third time shut down again.
Smart blocking by Maryland to keep ganging up on the pin. That was the only option that Rutgers had 3 times in a row, and McGregor really stepping up in a pivotal moment.
Maryland serving down a point. Crego. What a dig by Dion. Bear maybe matched her. Crutcher with a bullet.
And all credit on that point to Dion with making that defensive pursuit, sparking the offense on the play, and it's Ashley Crutcher. That's the energy and the aggression you need out of the front row when they're in these big moments.
The games of both of these teams really being risen right now. 3-all in the 5th. Crutcher going to the back. Fletcher to the net. Crego for Crutcher. Point Maryland. Now the fans have the scarves out. They could sense the Terps with a chance here to maybe pull away. And the string continues.
Aggressive set by Bayer, but once again, Maryland, and that's Whitney Crego at the service line, setting up that play, putting the pressure on Rutgers by pulling the pass off beyond the 10-foot line, making it difficult to run an offense.
Crego with another tough serve. Fletcher from the back row. Bayer trying to keep it going, but Maryland steamrolling ahead by 3. Rutgers needing to break the momentum And they spend the timeout, but not before the Terps pile up 5 straight points. Now the Terps band in the house, dancing, playing up a storm. Steve Aird's team hoping to finish off a raucous night here in College Park with an initial Big Ten Conference victory in women's volleyball. Jason App, Michelle McMahon. This has been a fun one to witness. Going the distance to the 5th. Tied at 2 sets apiece. Maryland serving up 6-3. Looking to extend a run of 5 straight points. Super dig from Frake. Bear, the middle to Frazier. Maryland ready for that. Crutcher! Another monster point for the Terps.
Tagging in with her 4th kill, and the senior doing what she does best, and that's executing when you need it most. Doing a nice job on the single blocking situation. A great set by Crego to put her in that situation. Solid execution for the senior.
Yeah, Crutcher has 4 of the Maryland kills and points in this set, and it's the Terps by 4. Crego, they've run off 6 straight points in her serve. Crutcher again, whether it's power or finesse, she is flat getting it done.
And perfect example of the finesse. She rifled one cross court, drops it in, slows down that arm swing, which makes her a really difficult player to read if you're defending Crutcher right now.
Crutcher continuing to pile up the kills, and Maryland racking up the points on the serve of Whitney Crego. Remember, they were down 3-1 early on in this set, and suddenly it's 8-3.
And sometimes all it takes is one error on Rutgers' part to flip that momentum. When you're at home court advantage and you have one spark momentum, that's all it takes.
Don't forget another edition, an all-new edition of Big Ten Treasure Hunter following us after this 5th and final set. And that string for Crego ends at 7 in a row into the net. It's still quality work for the service line for the sophomore. Now can Talia Holes and Rutgers have a similar string of their own. Free ball for RU. Why not? She's hitting everything else in this set.
And let's remember that she's not full strength right now. Crutcher doing an excellent job of putting those balls away, but how about Crego putting her in that situation when she's on the 10-foot line, shooting that ball faster tempo, and Crutcher just executing on the fast play.
Ashley Crutcher, the senior, back from an ankle injury, doing big things, hitting the 20 kill mark and exceeding it. Frake pulls down to keep it up. And it pays off into a point for the Scarlet Knights.
Lassa doing a good job of finding those blockers' hands. She sees that they're late, does a nice job executing those high hands, lets it trickle down in front of McGregor.
Steve Aird making the call. Komisarek and the Rutgers serve. Power from Frake, handled by Rutgers. And that's off the antenna. Point Maryland, 5 away. Terp fans ready to explode. And they're closing in on that W. Timeout taken. You look at the upcoming matches for these teams, and again, they'll do it again, this time at the Scarlet Knights place on Saturday, and then some big guns out there awaiting the Terps coming up in a trio of ranked squads to start off November.
And when you have Nebraska and Penn State coming up, I think the focus for both of these groups and for both of these coaching staffs is to just improve every week. Obviously, when you're going up against a Penn State, it's going to be a little bit different of a level of competition. But if you get better every weekend that you play, that's all that you can ask for from your players.
Yeah, for Steve Aird in particular, that'll be certainly an intriguing night for him to go up against his alma mater and the team he helped work with to a national title last year. And for CJ Wernicke, the next matches for him and some of those same suspects on the hit list coming up for the Scarlet Knights. Again, be fun to see Rutgers get a crack at the Terps coming up at home. Interesting when you play somebody back-to-back, how that works out in scouting. And you've got a handful of days off in between.
It certainly is, because back when I was playing, that didn't happen. It was a typical Friday, Saturday night match, and it was a round-robin style where you wouldn't see that team until towards the end of the Big Ten season. So definitely an interesting matchup, but it also gives you the opportunity to make key adjustments on certain players and come back with your best game the next matchup.
Again, Big Ten treasure hunter, all new edition coming up after this. Both of these teams looking for their first Big Ten win. Do you remember yours, your first conference win, what that was like?
Oh gosh, you're gonna test my memory that far? Oh, let's see. It wasn't Penn State, I'll tell you that.
Well, certainly you got your fair share at Michigan. Maryland trying to close in on one right now, 11-5. Bozzini, the southpaw in. The sling one here for the Terps. Holds Frazier in the middle, denied.
Nice discipline there by Murray to stay keyed in on our middle attacker, and then Frake with the smart vision to know to step over and help Murray out on that block. Good offensive vision for the block.
Maryland piecing it all together right now in the fifth. 12-5 advantage, 3 points away from that initial Big Ten victory. Dump attempt from Baer. And Rutgers will take the points any way they can get them there.
And a smart attack choice to push that ball to the deep corners. It doesn't matter how you need to get a kill right now. It just matters that you get a kill right now. And that was an excellent execution by Rutgers.
CJ Wernicke looking on his team. Remember, they rallied in the first set from behind to take it. They rallied in the second set to put pressure on Maryland, even though the Terps won that. And they took the fourth too. Their first set victories of the year. Can they get that initial match victory in Big Ten competition? And Baer, another miscue, trying to set things up in this raucous environment here in College Park. Oceone. Fletcher looking for a touch. And Rutgers gets it.
How about that aggression on the pin from the freshman? Not afraid of the moment. She wants to be in this big moment in the fifth set, down 7-13.
And there is no hesitation, and it paid off with another kill for her. She's got a double-double, 11 kills, 11 digs. Cloyd! Boy, that's a smart play, and Rutgers creeping closer.
Floyd taking a page out of Ashley Crutcher's book there, dropping in the off-speed tempo. Very smart play because she's been rifling in her kills with the powerful swing.
And Steve Aird does not want this to multiply, so he takes a quick timeout to end that mini Rutgers run. Maryland 2 points away from a Big Ten win tonight. The conclusion ahead on BTN. Two teams looking to break through in the Big Ten. Rutgers and Maryland going to the fifth. Rutgers winning the first and fourth. Second and third set victories for Maryland. And the Terps 2 points away from closing it out. But Rutgers trying to run on the serve here of Nicole Baer. Break! point, Maryland.
And Frake doing an excellent job being an anchor all night long there, finding the outside seam right outside her middle blocker. Excellent execution.
Little condensation on the floor. They'll wipe that up on the far side out of your view. But the focus should be on Frake as she looks to finish it off. A magical Maryland moment in the books. Crutcher caps the first Big Ten Conference win in women's volleyball for the Maryland program. Rutgers will wait to another night to get their initial conference victory, but the Terps able to seize the day. Our pure silk performance of the match. How can you not choose Ashley Crutcher back from injury and in fine form?
And the senior taking over on the offense, doing an excellent job of really bringing her team to victory at this point. And once again, nursing an ankle injury, and yet she's still able to attack at that level.
Now Rutgers will get another crack at Maryland coming up here momentarily when they play again at the end of this week. And we'll see how it plays off. Well, that'll do it from College Park here, where Rutgers gave Maryland all it could handle.